Multiple NXT call-ups and more on last night's SmackDown. We've got reported plans for Monday's WWE draft. And a huge title match has been set for Crown Jewel. So a busy old night on last night's SmackDown. Lots going on, including a couple of NXT call-ups. Just in case you missed it, we're going to go back and forth, because we like to have fun here at Cultaholic, and we're going to go through all of last night's draft changes. So we're kicking things off with the Tribal Chief staying on SmackDown.
And Big E is staying on Raw.
Charlotte Flair heading over to SmackDown with the title,
And Bianca Belair is heading over to Raw.
In the second round, Drew heading over to SmackDown. We knew it was coming.
And RK Bro are staying on Raw.
They split the bloody New Day up yet again.
This is
unbelievable.
I couldn't
Kofi
believe
and
that.
Xavier as a tag team heading over to SmackDown.
This one's more of like a confirmation, but Edge is officially now with Raw. He's been legally, I guess, a free agent under WWE rules since he came back, but now he's on Raw.
Corbin and Moss getting drafted pretty damn early. They are staying on SmackDown.
We've got Rhea Ripley and Nikki Ash staying on Raw, but ultimately that doesn't matter because currently, tag title holders, right? So they can...
Yeah, they can go wherever
they
they want. I think that's still the rule.
Yeah.
And at this point, we get to our first NXT call-up, and it is the absolutely fantastic Hit Row. Hit Row as a stable coming to SmackDown. I'm very, very excited about this just because Swerve especially, I'm not taking anything away from the rest of them, but Swerve is another level, man. He's so good in the ring.
This is it. He's just a star waiting to happen, isn't he? Like, he's already a star. He just really needs that exposure, and this is going to grant him it. But Hit Row already kind of got off to the races before SmackDown, just as a bit of an aside here as we're talking about them, because in the pre-show dark match of the event, we had a bit of an ECW, WCW, WWF situation when we had an NXT star defeating a Raw star in a SmackDown dark match, and that NXT star was Top Dollar, who is a member of the Hit Row stable, so immediately coming in, beating Cedric Alexander cleanly, and that's it. So Hit Row have arrived, win number 1 under their belts, even though it's not official, but still got that. It's quite nice.
Nice. Keith Lee staying on Raw.
Naomi is staying on SmackDown.
Another change as Ray and Little Dominic head over to Raw as a unit. They're sticking them together still, which is a bit of a relief.
Yes.
You never know.
Jeff Hardy will be going to SmackDown to do more flippy blue brand things.
And be intimidated by Brock Lesnar as he was last night. And then we've got another NXT call-up. It's one that's been rumoured for a little while. Austin Theory is going to be heading to the Red brand. A guy who I think has heaps of potential. Truly, yeah. I think he's so young and
sickeningly young.
Yeah, ridiculously talented. He's got a really great look, by which I mean he's just a very handsome lad that I think people are going to probably get behind. And you know what? I can see him working really well as a mid-card heel over on Raw, and I think he'll just grow from there.
Yeah.
But there was one more announcement made during the show, and that is thanks to the Paulrus, thanks to Paul Heyman. Brock Lesnar is a free agent, and it got really, really interesting last night because the Usos are being sent to Raw to make sure that they are sticking with the Bloodline on SmackDown. And if Paul Heyman doesn't succeed in that, Roman Reigns instructed the Usos to kill Paul Heyman.
No.
So it's looking like they might be splitting the Bloodline up, I really do think that's going to happen. It looks like that maybe even Paul Heyman getting back with Brock Lesnar.
The thing is, it's never not a good thing, Paul and Brock, is it? And it's never not a good thing, Paul and Roman. So I kind of want both, but I don't want to lose either of them, which is making it even harder. But I do like Paul in the middle, bouncing around like a bit of a ping pong ball, right? Because he's a bit kind of... It's very awkward for him.
It makes Crown Jewel very interesting. I would be very disappointing if they split the Bloodline, because it really does feel to me like they're just getting started. I think you can get years out of that stable.
Could you imagine you split the Bloodline and then Lesnar goes over?
Just back
with Paul, and it's just exactly how it was, like
the status quo is resumed.
Yeah.
But it's a bit more interesting now. Don't get me wrong, I don't want to see it personally, But Brock is this sort of verging on babyface. I don't think you can call Viking Brock a true babyface because he's just Brock Lesnar and he does what he fancies all the time. But
he's just impulsive.
There could be a really interesting dynamic there that could be really, really entertaining. And I'm loving Brock at the moment. I really am.
This is it.
Does Roman need Heyman? Is Paul Heyman what's sort of keeping it together for Roman Reigns at the moment as far as this character and holding on to the title goes? Is that the deal?
I don't know, because Roman is able to hold a promo incredibly well. I think he's always been pretty good, but it's been a little bit cheesy at times, and I feel that's why maybe somebody with the legitimacy of Heyman was put in there with him. But Roman's just talking more and more and more, and Heyman's talking less and less and less, and it's kind of, it might just go that way. But last night, one little thing for Heyman as well, calling Roman the suplex assist, that was just...
incredible.
Oh,
absolutely beautiful touch. Heyman was great last night, and it does make me think that without Paul Heyman, if maybe that's the thing that means that Roman can't cling on to the title. And maybe it does happen at Crown Jewel. It really wouldn't surprise me. I don't know how I feel about it. Very conflicting thoughts on the matter.
But when we talk about status quo potentially just resuming and all of a sudden it's 2019 again, about the promo where Brock Lesnar mentioned that he was a free agent, he pops up.
Yeah, speaking of Brock just doing what he fancies all the time.
Yeah, Jeff Hardy was cutting a promo, it's like Jeff Hardy to SmackDown and blah, 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 and here he comes and he's going to, when they go backstage and it's, how excited are you to be here on the blue brand? And then Brock just pops in and he's like, takes the mic and he announces that he's a free agent. And that occurs quite late on in the show. Except it's come out, according to PW Insider, that was pre-recorded, and then Brock did the opening segment with Roman and co, and then Brock went home.
Off. And it doesn't surprise me.
No, it doesn't surprise me at all, but I think if any other
Brock thing ever,
I think if any other member of the roster tried to pull that, it would be get your suit on and sit backstage.
That's our Brock. It's a weird one because a lot of people, and myself included in the past, have got quite upset about Brock Lesnar's lack of passion for wrestling. And I find stories like that quite endearing at this point. I don't know what that says about me. I just think, that's Brock. That's what he does.
Why shouldn't he be able to leave straight after he's finished everything he needs to do?
Sit him in catering with Akira Tozawa. SmackDown.
Just the small talk.
I'm sure they got loads to chat about. So, as far as reported plans for next week's WWE draft show on Raw, a few names now being reported. Some of these have been mentioned before. This is from the Wrestling Observer newsletter, and Dave writes, nobody knows, but those in the company were of the belief that Dakota Kai, Aaliyah, and Xia Li were the leading candidates among the women, particularly because WWE wants a legitimate Chinese star in the market after the success that UFC had when Zhang Weili, I assume that's pronounced?
Weili, maybe? I have no idea. I'm terrible with names, so apologies.
When Big Zhang became a champion. None of those talents, of course, were drafted on last night's SmackDown, but obviously we've got Raw coming up. So it's hinting that we might see a few of those names. And just to add to this, another dark match taking place last night, Dakota Kai versus Xia Li taking place. They are no strangers to dark matches. They've been doing quite a lot recently, which has sort of fueled this speculation that they're going to be heading up. And you know what? That appears to be the case just because, like, Austin Theory, for example, was doing all those dark matches. He got called up, so I would expect to see them on Monday night, and I'm happy with all of those. I
Absolutely,
think that should be good stuff. Last night also announced on WWE's social media just before SmackDown took place, a couple of hours before, we got a huge title match set for Crown Jewel. And that is Becky Lynch defending a SmackDown Women's Championship against Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks. Triple threat action. Could be a really incredible match, that one.
It could be very interesting with some interesting implications if Bianca Belair wins the title as well, because she has just been drafted to Raw. So if Bianca Belair wins, she could have a very quick jaunt through Raw and then straight back to SmackDown, or we could see both brands' belts on one show for a little bit, and that'll be weird.
Well, we saw it very briefly last night. Obviously, Charlotte was there in attendance. We don't know what the deal with Sasha is. It wouldn't surprise me if Sasha heads over to Raw as well.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's it. We got the next part of the draft, right?
Yeah, and then you've got a little story there of Becky trying to cling onto the belt to make sure it doesn't go to Raw.
Yeah.
Just to keep that belt on the blue brand. And if I don't know what they do if that comes to it. The one thing I don't want to see them do is just have Charlotte and Becky, if she's still the champion, swap belts. It's like, you have that colour, you have that colour. It makes sense, doesn't it? It was annoying when they did that with the tag belts.
It's a bit naff when they do that. But, hopefully they've got something good planned, because I don't know if it's the first triple threat, but it is only the third ever women's match to take place in Saudi Arabia. So it's still going to be, it's still quite a very big thing. So hopefully it will be sort of a spectacle match.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it should be an excellent one. I always get quite sort of weirdly. I look forward to the Saudi Arabia shows because they are so bonkers.
They're all over the place, aren't they?
They really, really are. Also, just before we get on to our final story, announced last night, King of the Ring and the Queen's Crown taking place in the not too distant future. In fact, starting next week. So that's really awesome as well. We don't really know full details. A few people were pictured in the video package. Off the top of my head, I remember Kevin Owens being on there, Bobby Lashley being on there, but they haven't formally announced any names. But that's taking place very, very soon. It wouldn't surprise me if the finals of those took place at Crown Jewel as well.
It's all been sort of gently pointing toward that, hasn't it? There's been a lot of rumours and rumblings that the finals are going to be taking place there, so it wouldn't surprise me. They always like to have kind of like a big trophy style award, don't they, or a belt?
Yeah, they love stuff like that, don't they? They really do. So yeah, I would expect that to take place with them starting the tournament so soon next week. We are finishing off with AAA wanting to book a major, couldn't really get much bigger to be honest, match featuring two top AEW stars. One of them is the top AEW star, Kenny Omega, and they want him versus Bryan Danielson for the AAA mega title. Once again from the Wrestling Observer newsletter. CM Punk said on Twitter that he wanted to do a match in Mexico City with Penta and Phoenix versus himself and Bryan Danielson. Beards versus belt. Or belts versus beard, I guess. Punk doesn't have that much of a beard. Punk's not got much to lose there, has he, actually?
Is he gonna what belt's he gonna lose? Just his little kind of dress one for his suit?
Yeah, I assume so. Anyway, the director of AAA, Dorian Roldan, freaked out about this. So Dorian had talked about wanting to do Danielson challenging Omega for the AAA mega title after he saw their match last week. I'm not surprised. But Dave commented, politically, if I'm Tony Khan, there's no way I let the second Danielson versus Omega match take place anywhere but in AEW. Of course,
this is it. It's like, Dorian, mate, I want to run that match. I could put it on in the car park and make a lot of money. I think everybody could.
Yeah, I agree.
It makes sense. AAA, AAA is in close with AEW, and this is definitely the sort of match I think would go over well in AAA, and I think it would be something we will see down the line, maybe the next outing, but I think, we're not going to get that rematch just quite yet. I don't think we will. But then again, AEW kind of buck all trends and expectations, don't they? So it wouldn't surprise me if it did happen in AAA somehow, and they just showed it on a Dynamite or showed it on a pay-per-view or something.
I agree.
Or did a collaborative event or something.
Why would Tony want to let that happen? It's like, okay, I don't know what he means by Dorian Roldan freaking out.
Just give us Los Psycho Circus, and we'll just go from there. We'll just go for everything. We'll just give us all of the...
It's like saying, right, well, I'm the promoter. I'm WCPW's general manager, right? I want to put on Austin versus Hogan.
Of course.
All right. Who cares? I'll make loads of money. Of course you want two top stars in your promotion.
Yeah, but I mean, it's AAA. It's AAA, so I can see this happening at some point. Maybe not yet, but I reckon it's going to happen at some point. I don't know. Their working relationship's certainly there. Austin Hogan, yeah, for sure.
In AAA.
In AAA. For that. On quads. You remember the Monster Truck match? But just on quads.
Adam Pacitti will be backstage freaking out because he didn't get the match he wanted. Right, I'm talking bollocks now. Anyway, that's us for a bit. We'll be back very, very shortly with some more delicious news. Take care of yourselves. All the best.
See you later.